Hi, I'm Amy Tarakach, a travel writer for the New York Times travel section, and we're here in London in the swanky St. James neighborhood, known for a lot of iconic heritage brands, here to investigate a hatwear company that has been around for over 300 years and actually holds a royal warrant. Coming over, they're known for their fanciful windows, and here we can see that they've already got everything decorated for Royal Ascot, which is a very big social event happening in mid-June. Here we've got the women's hats, and moving over just to the other side, we can see the top hats, which are absolutely required for men at this event. Walking inside to a four-story townhouse that they've been in since 1759. We're looking around at some of the classic hats. Over there, we've got the flat caps. We've got boaters, which you see at Henley, which is a very famous event that happens on the river. And over here, we've got fedoras, which the company popularized, another classic shape, and the bowler hat, which Lock & Company actually invented and made very, very popular, more flat caps and top hats. Since we're going to see so much hatwear at this royal wedding, we thought, you know what, we're going to take a look at what we might see. And another defining feature of Lock & Company is the royal warrants. What is a royal warrant? Well, these are one of the hardest things to come by. There are only about 800 of them in the UK. And in order to get one, a company has to supply the royal family with goods or services for 5 years or more and then apply for it. Here we've got the royal warrant from Prince of Wales and the Duke of Edinburgh. So to help us get a great understanding of what's going on and what makes this shop so special, we're going to talk to Master Hatter Jay Vagella. Hey, Jay. Jay, tell me a little bit about what makes Lock so fantastic and so historical and so heritage, and a little bit of the history.
Sure. Firstly, hats.
Hats.
And secondly, family-owned business. Throughout the generations, they have maintained the hatting, mastering, and the people, of course, and that brings collectively as a successful business.
So one of the things that's so interesting, if we look over here, is the military hatting. I mean, it's known for the bicorn hat that Admiral Nelson wore in the Battle of Trafalgar.
Yes.
Is that the actual one over here?
That is actually one of bicorns. The actual hat that was worn by Lord Nelson is on display in Westminster. These are actually bicorns, tricorns, and the others you see are Queen's Guards and Beefeater hat.
And are these made where are these made?
These were originally dating 1800s, were made by Lock, and Lock family are keen collectors of hats, and these have come from the actual clients who had these in their possession at one point, one obviously by a family member.
And if we can go over here, can you tell me a little bit about the trilbies and the fedoras and who's wearing them these days?
Indeed. I mean, hats are coming back in fashion. I mean, we have sold hats throughout the generation. Father wore them, obviously, well, let's go back. Grandfather wore them, father wore them, and the kids, whilst the father was shopping for a hat, came to the shop and were obviously seeing this, and now we're finding that the younger clienteles are beginning to wear more hats. These you will see on display. They are individually selected for the frame and height. So for fedora, for example, is for somebody very tall, broad shoulder, fits well. So you're not over-hatting or under-hatting. And someone with a soul...
Over-hatting is a term. I love that.
It is. It's a softer term to define a perfect balance in proportion.
Okay, interesting. And tell me a little bit about top hats, because one of the moments in time was Winston Churchill did wear a Lock top hat to his wedding in 1908.
Correct, and Lock were fortunate enough to hat him for that occasion. He wore an antique silk top hat for his wedding. These, what you see on display, are new. The covering is rabbit fur felt, which we still manufacture them, and we do a fitting. We are the only hatters in London who offers this service. And by fitting, I mean it is definitely almost like a custom-made top hat for the client to wear comfortably at an occasion like Ascot or a wedding.
So, that leads me to my next question. Top hats, where will they be worn aside from this Saturday at the royal wedding?
Absolutely. Now, we are already very heavily busy regarding Ascot, and you will find that a top hat initially was intended for an everyday use, mainly worn by the aristocrats and then followed by a regular citizen. But top hats are also worn in some of the schools. Obviously, undertakers wear them, and we do get clients who just want to possess a top hat.
That's so different from the U.S. That's such a defining feature, I think, in the U.K. And let's talk about how one gets fitted for a top hat, because this device looks rather frightening over here.
No, it's very deceiving. Dates back 1852.
And what's it called?
It's called conformiter.
Okay.
And if I was to pronounce it correctly, this is how I normally introduce it to the client, conformatio.
Okay.
It's French invention. Dates back to 1852. It is so accurate, and we always use this contraption to fit a top hat, which I just did this morning. So basically, this is how it operates. I can do a quick demo if you wish. What we do is we place. Would you like me to put this on my head, or shall I get a volunteer to do
You
this?
can put it on my
Am I
head.
brave enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Like I said, it's very deceiving.
Okay. I thought this was used for shoplifters, no? As a torture device.
They get
Okay.
caught, they place a conformiter.
Right.
But in your
Okay.
case,
All right. Let's go.
we'll do a fitting for a hard hat.
Okay.
There we go. So it is centrally placed on your head.
Okay.
Then it's gradually comes down. Down goes the upper part of the conformiter. I take the impression.
I feel adjectives flowing into my brain. Very stimulating.
It's
Okay.
deceiving.
Right. And then what do you do with that number?
And then goes. It's a very old machine, so it does need a little bit of helping hand. So what you do is lift the flap, and you will see that your head shape has transformed, pinned on rather, onto the card. So the 3 dot, that's front of your head, single dots, back of your head. Now it is very common, it's a long oval head shape, and generally all the Americans who come in for a hard hat, such as top hat or a bowler, they have a long oval head shape,
They have a long oval head shape.
which is perfectly symmetrical, you can see.
Americans have this? That's because of the adjective situation. We're very bright. Okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And I wanted to talk a little bit also, moving into the social season, about Panama hats and boaters, because they are so popular. So we're going to come over here.
Sure.
I mean-
we're experiencing a very good summer this year.
Yes.
And yes, obviously, most of the clients travel abroad to seek better weather, but we're fortunate enough to experience that here.
What's the history of the Panama and how did it get
Panama,
popular?
it originates obviously Ecuador, and it was these hats were worn by men who were working on Panama Canal, and they're worn in their raw form. So what they would do is they wear it during daytime, and obviously when it was cooler, when the sun had sort of gone down, they would fold the hat and place it in their pocket. So that's how the folding, conception came to be.
And where would people wear these in the summer season or the social season, really beginning now in June?
Now, as you see, the ones which are more formally shaped hats, they would wear it on events such as garden parties, or generally, as a gentleman who dresses in a smart attire would be accompanied by just a crown. His head, he would wear a Panama.
Okay, great. And the boating hats over here?
Yes, they're slightly more casual. And before I walk away from the Panama, you will see there is a garden party happening at the palace. So we have sold quite a few already to the clients wearing for that occasion.
Oh, I love that.
And
I want to mention, if you want to go up to those hat boxes, when you buy a hat at Lock, it's like a souvenir in and of itself. You get this fantastic hat box, which the design is from 1700 and has not deviated since that time. So you get the hat and the box. So I think it's a good investment.
it is indeed. We do get a client obviously so excited about acquiring a hat from the Lock. And then what happens is they leave the hat behind and walk away with the box.
What? Okay. Great. Are there any other trends that we can look forward to, or is it generally the classics?
I'll go back to my initial statement. The Lock has maintained that style in hatting, and like we cater for all generations and all people from all walks of life.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jay.
Pleasure.
So we're going to go upstairs now. The women's collection is rather new. This was introduced in 1993. And in the UK, women's millinery is huge. You're going to see it at weddings, you see it at Ascot, you see it at Wimbledon, you see it at garden parties. And the more fanciful, the better. But here at Locke, and actually I should mention that Kate Middleton has been spotted many, many times in Locke Creations. So this room is fantastic. We're going to come in now and we're going to speak with the creative consultant, Ruth Ravenscroft, about some of the hats that we might be seeing at the royal wedding. Over here, it's interesting to an American audience because we do not wear hats as wonderfully as the British, but a lot of these are very confectionery. We've got this little one that it goes on the side of the head, and I've been told this is something we might see at the royal wedding. We've got this little one with the wide brim, and the etiquette is so interesting. For Ascot, there has to be a certain dimension for the hat to be allowed into certain types of seating. We've got these fanciful ones with the feathers. We've got super broad hats. And the etiquette also for a royal wedding, I may add, is that the hat has to be small enough so the person behind you can see. It's considered very rude to wear a large and overwhelming hat. Ruth, I have some questions for you. Hello. Can you tell us a little bit about the some of the hats that we're seeing here and the style and what's popular?
Yeah, certainly. We're heading into Ascot season at the moment. So as you can see, we have a lot of these couture, more dressy hats out. These we make in-house, so they can be made to order, dyed to match. Ascot is where you would wear some of the slightly more extreme designs. We have a Ladies' Day, which is the hat day.
What does that mean, Ladies' Day?
It's just a special day for ladies where ladies really dress up to the nines and they wear the most amazing hats, and it's a tradition that has always surrounded Ascot.
Can you tell us a little bit about the etiquette for royal wedding hats? By the way, I should mention that the invitation for Harry and Meghan's wedding says day dress and hat. So how is that interpreted? That's kind of a very vague description.
Yes, I think it's just saying that a hat in general should be worn. I think at the wedding that's coming up, there's a very diverse mix of guests, of ages and all kinds of things. And so I think you'll see a real diversity of hats as well. So some people would be wearing something like a few of these hats here, but others might wear something just more very pretty, brim, slightly less formal, well not less formal. But
Do women keep the hats on during the service and then moving to the party, or do they remove them?
Yes, the hat is always kept on during the service. In church, you should keep your hat on. In a wedding, normally it's the mother of the bride who decides when people should remove their hats.
Oh, that's so interesting. And I'm trying to think, you mentioned also something very interesting about Royal Ascot, about the dimension of the hat and how much of the brim can be worn.
Basically, there are different enclosures at Ascot, and in the royal enclosure, they do have a dress code, which includes things about the dress as well, the hemline that you should wear, no bare shoulders, and for the hat, it should have a base of at least 10 centimeters, so about the size of the palm of your hand.
Oh, that's amazing. Tell me about some of these over here. Would we see something like this at the wedding or at some other social events this season?
Yes, definitely. I mean, something like this is really an Ascot hat. It's quite extreme. But sometimes, I mean, this is a really pretty, sweet little hat. Something like that would be perfect for the wedding or for any wedding. Or this one as well. These are all handmade flowers. They're made with gazar.
I'm wondering how can you make sure that no two people are wearing the same hat?
That's a very good question. We try our absolute best. They're not. A few of these pieces are one-offs, but generally we do keep a list, and we try and write down what color someone's wearing and what hat to try and avoid it being the same, but we can't guarantee that. There are so many people at Ascot actually, but we never make usually more than perhaps 6, 8, 10 of a certain design, so hopefully the chances of that happening are very small. When it comes to weddings, we usually take the name of the bride and the groom's family to avoid that, because in that case, actually, that would be terrible if the mother of the groom and bride ended up wearing the same. So we make sure we know which wedding party people are going to, so we don't have that happen.
And can you also, let's move over here. I want to take a peek at these. Can you tell us, because we in the U.S. hadn't heard of fascinators very much until we really started noticing people in the royal family wearing them. What is the difference between a fascinator and some of the hats here?
And a hat. Yes. I think the press tend to call nearly everything that's a small hat a fascinator. Originally, a fascinator would have been something, just a few feathers or a brooch, something that you could wear for a cocktail. They became very, very fashionable about 6 or 7 years ago. I think the fashion has slightly gone over now, but people still do wear them. But even, I mean, all these are hats. That's not even a fascinator, actually. That's a headband, an Alice band.
I would have thought that was a turban, in fact, when I was looking at that.
Oh, well, the turban would be completely covering your whole head. Something like that is open at the back.
Okay, moving over here. Tell me a little bit about about these straw hats. I didn't realize that these were so popular for women. Also, I thought it was more of a men's hat.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so charming.
It is, and everybody should protect themselves from the sun. So it's something people should wear all the time in summer. But people wear these especially for more casual events. We even have the little Liberty print baseball caps that you would wear for something like Wimbledon. These are worn often for garden parties, holidays, every day. Every woman should own a sun hat or something.
Nadine Shaw says, beautiful hats, though not invited, but best wishes for the couple. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm wondering, what would happen? Would anybody turn up at this wedding, since this wedding at Windsor is a little bit less fancy than William and Kate's wedding? Is a hat de rigueur? If you showed up without a hat, would you feel completely out of place as a woman?
Yes, I think so, and definitely the dress code is on the invitation, so
Right.
it would be a requirement. I think it shows that you've made the effort.
Oh, good.
Definitely.
And with the expanse of your collection, I'm just wondering who the clientele is. Is it mostly older women? Is it younger women? Who is wearing hats? Because it seems like there's such a resurgence in this trend, which is so interesting and lovely.
Absolutely. It's interesting, actually, because in-house we've spent some time trying to identify who our classic core customer is, and actually our clients are just so diverse. We have a really strong British market, but of all ages, but also we're a very international shop. So, for example, the Panamas and things we stock all year round because it's always summer somewhere. So very, very diverse. And we try to have something for every style of woman and every occasion as well.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the tea. When did there's a tea that Lock & Company has started. It's at the Sheraton, correct?
Yes.
The Sheraton of London, which is adorable. I'm just going to walk over here and grab. Yes, I wanted to grab this. So Lock & Company has an afternoon tea at the Sheraton, which is just the Sheraton Grand, I should say, which has just been started, and it's got pastries that are all based on the hats. Have you been to the tea?
I have. It's absolutely delicious, and their chef has done the most amazing job recreating actual styles that are in the collection, so it's really fun. It's part of, we're doing a customer experience, so you can come here and we'll give you a little tour of our history and our heritage room, and then have a little private area, and we'll make you a bespoke trim, which is really fun. So we'll start off with a basic classic shape, could be ready to wear or couture, and then we'll design the trims with you. And then we send you off up to the Sheraton Grand to have a delicious tea, and 2 hours later your hat is ready.
That is so charming. Well, Lock & Company is very, very busy because the royal wedding is Saturday. So we're going to sign off. But until Saturday,